Skyward Sword is probably one of, if not the most controversial Zelda game. But is it actually a good game or not? I will preface this video by saying I'm not a Skyward Sword hater. I actually really like the game and think it gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I honestly feel like the majority of the dislike for Skyward Sword comes from bandwagon hate, because if the funny YouTube men said it was a bad game, then you know it has to be true, right? And everyone can have their own opinions, I really don't care at the end of the day, but I know people that have never played it that were saying it's bad. Like, how would you know? Starting off with the dungeons. Skyward Sword has some of the best dungeons in the whole series. The dungeons in this game are well designed, and you can tell they put a lot of thought into each one. Some of the most notable dungeons are the Sand Ship, Linearity's mining facility, and the Ancient Cistern. The Sand Ship is exactly what it sounds like, a big sand ship. It's a ghost ship that Link must find and navigate his way through. The use of the time shift mechanic along with mixing indoor and outdoor puzzles is amazing. Although the final boss is...
Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
Linearity's mining facility is also exactly what it sounds like. I didn't fully appreciate this dungeon as a kid because I found it kind of hard, but on my most recent replay, it's actually pretty good. My personal favorite dungeon in the game is the Ancient Cistern. It's a dungeon with a story. Not to mention the aesthetics for this dungeon are off the charts. The contrast between heaven and hell is extremely impactful, and honestly, it's probably one of the least frustrating water temples to date. I'm looking at you, Ocarina of Time. I will say, however, that while the dungeons are something that really sticks out to me when talking about the positives of Skyward Sword, the bosses and repetitiveness of the game also sticks out, but in a negative way. The most talked about example of this is the Imprisoned. You know, it was cute fighting him the first time. The second time was okay, I guess, but to have to fight him a third time is kind of crazy. And to make it even worse, there's only a small amount of changes to the fight during each encounter. The same thing can also be said about the Silent Realms. This needs its own section. The Silent Realms in this game are iconic, for both positive and negative reasons. Collecting tears 4 times throughout the game, making you revisit the same areas over and over again, it's just a little too much for some people. I mean, I personally like the Silent Realms since it offers a different perspective and challenge when revisiting these areas, but the same cannot be said for 12-year-old me. You can probably guess where I'm going with this. Let's talk about the Guardians. If you thought the Guardians in Breath of the Wild were scary, let me introduce you to the ones in Skyward Sword. These demonic-looking things scared me so much as a kid. I would literally shake while playing. I even had to turn off the sound and squint, or else I would have a full-on panic attack. Good old Nintendo. Giving kids heart attacks since 1985. No, but I actually really enjoyed the trials when playing on the Switch. They're really not that hard, and I almost never woke up the Guardians. Or maybe they made it easier on the Switch, and they're just gaslighting the 12-year-old me. I don't know. Linearity. Okay, hear me out. I know this is super controversial, but I actually like linearity in my games. I just don't like how the word linear has such a negative connotation to it. Linearity most notably helps with story and character progression, which is also something that I find really important in games because without a story, how am I supposed to care about the characters and their objectives? I think a mix of some player choice mixed in with general linearity is the best way to go about things. A Zelda game that does this well is A Link Between Worlds. In that game you have some choice in dungeon and item order, but you must complete certain dungeons before you're able to move on in the story and get to the next set of dungeons. To be honest, I don't think Skyward Sword goes about linearity the best. I think it just feels weird because of the pacing of the story in certain areas, especially in the second half of the game. So let's get into the story. Skyward Sword has the best story out of all the Zelda games. Well, at least out of the ones I've played. When playing the game, you truly feel included in the story. The game starts off with Link being a student in the Knight Academy. At this point, you've known Zelda for a while, and you even know her father. Her father. There's a real relationship there. By the time Zelda is taken away, you actually feel a strong urge to save her because of the bond her and Link had. I don't really have anything negative to say about the story, but I could see how the people who don't like story-focused games would find it boring. The opening sequence does drag out quite a bit, but I still don't find it any worse than Twilight Princess's opening. Moving on to the characters. Skyward Sword has some of the best characters. This is the best version of Link and Zelda, because they don't have the personality of wet cardboard. They both have so much life compared to the previous, and future, Zelda games. In general, the characters in this game are very unique and interesting. I mean, what other game has you helping a clown? Or what about a Actually, I'm not really sure what this is. Two characters that really stick out to me are Groose and Girahim. They are amazing characters. I actually started off hating Groose because he was so mean for no reason. All he cared about was getting with Zelda when she clearly was not interested in him. But after his ego lands him in a completely different part of the world, he slowly becomes a better character. He even helps out the elderly. No, but seriously, he's such a Chad and becomes a big help later on. Girahim, on the other hand, is just fabulous from beginning to end. He has so much personality for a villain. He's evil and I like it. I would always look forward to his monologues because the way he speaks is just so charming. I would love to see more villains with this type of energy in the future. One character that stirs up a lot of controversy is Fi. Fi is the companion that helps Link on his journey to save Zelda. She's known for being annoying like Navi, and not as likable as Midna. I personally had no problems with her because, well, I sucked at playing games as a kid, so Fi was very helpful. Honestly, I like to play through games for the story, so if a puzzle or two gets spoiled or something, it really doesn't matter to me, but I can definitely see why this would be rage-inducing for people. Skyward Sword holds a special place in my heart, since it was the first Zelda game I played with no previous knowledge of, so I might be biased in saying, I really do think it is a good Zelda game. Anyways, let me know if you agree or disagree. Thank you for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!